You are listening to Ideas and Leaders podcast. I'm Elena Paweta, Executive Communication Coach and TEDx organizer. With each episode, I'll share with you communication tips and ideas from top business leaders to help you excel in your career. Welcome to the next episode of Ideas and Leaders podcast. And today we have a great guest. It is my friend, Cristina Juesas. And when I will introduce her, I will feel that I'm introducing myself because we are doing a lot of similar things. Cristina is a public speaking coach. She's a university lecturer, and she is also active in many nonprofit organizations, some of them the same as also I am. So hi, Cristina. It's great to have you here today.
Hi, Elena. Thank you for having me.
So, Cristina, what nonprofit organizations are you active in, and what is your why? Why are you engaged so much in nonprofit world?
Okay, so I'm engaged actually in 3 different nonprofits for very different reasons in every one of them. I am engaged in TEDx. I organize TEDxVitoriaGasteiz in the town where I live. The reason why I joined TEDx was because I wanted to organize a big event. That's the truth. The reason why I stayed is totally different. So after going to my first TED event, which I had to go because I wanted to have a +100 attendees event, and I discovered the TED world, the power of ideas, the real power of the TEDx community, and I decided that I wanted to belong. I know this may sound weird, but I kind of found my place in the world there. So that's the reason why I stayed and why I keep on organizing TEDx events.
Yeah. It
Even
does not sound weird to me because
yeah,
I'm also
but to people it might sound like why 7 years or 8 years after she started, she keeps on organizing.
Yes. But also we need to mention that TEDx community, as I'm also TEDx organizer in Poland, the TEDx community is international, that all organizers are connected, and being connected with such amazing people all over the world who want to change the world, who want to make the world a better place is so inspiring, and I can totally understand your
Yes.
motivation.
That was the thing. Then I'm engaged also with Toastmasters International. That's the public speaking and leadership organization. Again, I joined for a reason. I stayed for a completely different reason. I joined 8 years ago because I was so scared and afraid of public speaking. I was not able to be on stage. I had to take pills. It was terrible. But I had to go on stage a lot because of my work. So I had to do something, obviously. And I looked online and found Toastmasters. I went to the first meeting and fell in love with the system. And back in the day, my club was the only club in the surroundings in the north of Spain. And my club, well, I live in the Basque country, for those of you who can picture the Spanish map. And the closest club was in Barcelona, which is quite far away. It's more than 600 kilometers. So, well, the organization was just developing. I saw the opportunity to develop myself in the organization, and I loved engaging with the people, going to the different gatherings, competitions and all of that. And I got hooked. Again, I have this problem that I get hooked too early with many different things. So once I pop, I can't stop. That's one of my things.
Yeah, yeah, I can't
And
believe it that 8 years ago you were afraid of public speaking. Now you're a public speaking coach and a
I
lecturer,
know.
and so you really developed your skills in this organization. But why did you start your leadership career? Because now I know that you're district director uh, in Spain and in Portugal. You're managing many
Quite,
clubs.
quite a lot of people, yes.
Yes, yes. So at a quite a high leadership position. And what was your motivation to go on this leadership path?
So I always say about Toastmasters that the more you give, the more you take out. And you might not see the results or what you expect immediately. So if you're expecting an outcome, like an immediate outcome that you can touch and right now, you probably don't feel it. But I have experienced it myself from the beginning that one day I discovered that I had lost completely my fear, my stage fright. And one day I discovered that I was able to make people cry while I was making delivering a speech, or that I was able to make people laugh while I was delivering a speech. In the same way, I it's not that I didn't have some of the required skills to be a leader or supposed skills to be a leader, but I learned how to identify them and to make them um, work for a purpose. It's
Hmm.
like you are given a methodology that you can follow, and then you look around and say, "Ha, I have this, and I have this, and then a team. Okay, I'll recruit a team." But you once you know how to put everything in place, let's say, you learn how to how to do it.
Yeah, great. And you mentioned also the third nonprofit organization.
Yeah, and that's a fun story too. The third nonprofit organization is a medical health foundation called the Fundación IO. It's a nonprofit devoted to infectious diseases, tropical and travel health medicine.
Hmm.
And I met them last year when the pandemic started, because they were trying to spread the word about a questionnaire that they were doing to try to map the pandemic in Spain. I helped them in the beginning, just, well, they were desperate. It was the very beginning of our lockdown in Spain, and we were afraid, scared, uh, worried, and we liked each other. That's how things work sometimes. We liked each other, and they offered me when everything ended to keep on working for them. And well, it's something that I do because I like to devote some of the work. I like to give back some of the work for free, let's say, pro bono.
Yeah. So
Yeah, for
I have a
the good of
similar,
humanity.
yeah, I have a similar approach actually, and thinking about all the non-profit organizations I'm also involved in. I think that everyone has a different reason to start volunteering for an organization. So what do you think is are the most common reasons why people join those nonprofits?
The reason for joining, I am certain that is different from the reason for staying. we all have our reasons and our motivations. In some cases, it's because they have time and they want to do something with that time, that spare time that they have. In some other cases, it's because they feel they have to do something for the good of humanity, or well, because yeah, but it's pretty much of the same. And in some cases, like Toastmasters, because they need to improve something, they need to improve basically public speaking. I don't know a lot of people that joined Toastmasters because of the leadership skills you can learn or put into practice, but basically because of public speaking. They want to improve their presentations and so on. But most of the people that stays along the years in Toastmasters, they do because of leadership or because of fun.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
they don't want to go and continue with the leadership track, but they still like this social part of the organization, gather with the people from time to time, and so on. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And social aspect, I
And
think,
in
is so.
TEDx, I don't know. I believe it's the power of community. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So, Christina, what is you have a leadership experience? You are organizing TEDx events, and you're organizing. You're a district director now in Toastmasters. So, what do you think is different in leadership in nonprofit organizations? What are the main challenges of leaders in nonprofits?
Okay, that's clear. To me, is the outcome, is the money. In a company, you get paid or actual money, or you have other type of health insurance or food or other type of wages. And in a non-profit company, you don't have that. So I can't pay my team with money. I can only pay them with feedback, which is important, and other type of rewards, awards. I would say smaller things that have practically no money, no cost, no money value, but that personally might be very valuable to the people. For instance, I'm gonna show you something. This, as you see, is a piece of cardboard. This has no value. How much money is this? I don't know, 10 cents? This has no money, no cost. But this was awarded to me by my students last term. This is priceless. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's dedicated. These are the type of things, for instance, that in a nonprofit have a lot of value. Is you learn how to give value without money.
So, Christina, what about motivation? How do you motivate your teams? Because it is really tricky. You know, those people work as volunteers, they don't receive any money for this. How do you manage to motivate your teams?
Well, it works different in the two organizations where I volunteer. So the Toastmasters team, they, let's say, they are also a part of the organization as well. In some of the cases, they have to apply and they have to follow a process and they have to be elected and chosen by the people, which is in itself it's a motivation for them as well. It's like you learn how to run a campaign and how to achieve something from scratch. So how to motivate them? We had a plan. We planned for something in the beginning of the term, and we try to get back to the plan, but not just the written plan, what is expected from us to do. I also always like to ask them in the beginning of the term about their personal motivations for being there, besides what's obvious, right? What we all see, what they want to learn, what they want to achieve in a personal way. Like that, I'm able to get back to that and see if they're really learning what they were expecting to learn, if they are really achieving what they were expecting to achieve, and to try to make these two things connect, the reality with the will of learning or the personal motivations. That's
Yes.
the in my experience, that's the only way. In the TEDx world, it's different because the type of volunteering is slightly different. We motivate ourselves by engaging with the speakers, by engaging with the community. We get to know people in our surroundings that are super interesting and impressive people to meet sometimes. The things that they do or the way that they think, it's super inspiring to be around them. So it's, in my opinion, it's a different way of volunteering. We don't get the same things from one organization and the other.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
and
then I believe it's also something that has to do with, yes, yes.
yes, please go on.
Oh, and then I believe it's something that also has to do with the personal vision. Toastmasters person who lives in France, she told me that she liked the way I was able to transmit joy in the things that I did back in the day. But I believe that when you have a vision for something, for instance, what do you want to be, what do you want to achieve in a couple of years' time or in 3 years' time? And you're able to transmit this passion to your team, whoever this team is, I believe that the team finds also the motivation and the self-motivation to achieve um, tougher goals, to achieve more complicated and more difficult, yeah, milestones and goals in the end.
Yes, yes, definitely. We need to be energized ourselves and also to show them this passion and appeal to their why. Why are they doing this? So, how do you motivate your team in crisis when you're leading a non-profit organization and you know that your team does not get any salary for what they do? How to motivate them to work?
So I believe the two organizations where I lead work in a very different way. For instance, the TEDx community, the TEDx team is more prone to self-motivate because we already work for the sake of humanity, and the sake of humanity is a better world, and the better world is tomorrow, in a month, in 2 months, no matter if there's a pandemic around or whatever. So that itself is like a motivator. But Toastmasters work in a very different way. We were used to learn how to speak before an audience. Now we don't have audiences. But what I always say is we're learning new ways, we're learning new things, we're learning how to look at the camera. A year ago, we didn't know how to do this. This year, we're experts in looking at the camera, talking to them, playing with, getting to know all the electronics and the technology. And in the same way, there is something that we are learning for our careers, and it's we are learning how to develop teams that are able to work in the distance. Even if we don't see each other, we are working and performing as teams in very different locations, in different countries. Even, well, that's my case. I have people in Spain and I have people in Portugal, and some of them playing different roles, but some of them are in Morocco too, because we have one club belonging to Morocco. So different cultures, and this is something super enriching for all of us. If you know how to look at these points of improvement, and at these points of achievement, and that's what I try to tell my team. Hey, instead of looking at the bad things, why don't you look at the good things? Because there are good things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to focus on the positives. As a district director, you have the senior leadership position, so you are leading. You're a leader of leaders, and you're managing the team of division directors and area directors. So, what do you do to make sure that your team, the also leaders, they are engaged and they're motivated, especially in this distant working environment right now?
In our district, we have different ways of communicating what's official, let's say. We have the email, that's the most official way of communicating things. But then we have an informal WhatsApp group that works very, very well for us, because it was not me or the program quality director or anyone at the core team putting all the area directors in, but it were the division directors. So they asked every one of the area directors if they wanted to belong to that group, and all of them said yes, and the group was created. So the full district executive committee is in the group, and we use the group not just for sharing official, well, sort of official announcements, etc., but also to communicate the minor things, as I say. I've read this about Portugal. I'm sorry about that. Are you okay? Or listen, this is going to happen next month in Barcelona. You're welcome to attend if you want. This kind of more informal communication that helps us also bond the team,
Mm-hmm.
and we feel like we are a part of something together. I believe that's important too.
Yeah, this informal part is really important now, especially when we don't have so much opportunity to gather together to have some conferences and in-person business meetings. It is really important to keep this informal communication going. And
Yeah.
what about yourself? Because also as a leader, and I know that being a leader, it means that people are looking up to you, that they are listening to you, you are inspiring them. But also as a leader, um, it is not easy to be a leader, especially in the times of crisis, and not to lose your own motivation. So how do you keep yourself motivated and engaged?
I like that you make this question, because it's something that I always try to answer myself. I'm a very self-motivated person. I rarely am demotivated about something. If I commit to a cause, I take the cause to the end, just because I committed in the beginning. So I don't, let's say, I don't abandon just because I committed in the beginning, and that's what I said I would do, and I will do it to the end. And this helps me a lot. However, of course, there are times where it's complicated and I need to get back to the origin, to the why, to the original why, and ask myself, okay, why did I join or why did I commit to this? And it takes me a while sometimes to reconnect with my why, but once I do it, I stick to my commitment. I believe because I have like this extra sense of loyalty sometimes that helps me get across these tough times probably. But that's how I do it.
Yeah, yeah. So, Christina, what would you recommend based on your huge experience in leading in nonprofit organizations? What would you recommend to our listeners who are listening and thinking, what is it worth going into nonprofit organizations? What benefit can they get? Would you recommend them to get involved? And if yes, then why?
I definitely would recommend to get engaged in a nonprofit of their taste, because of course there's a nonprofit for almost everything and any type of uh, tastes or wills or likes that you have in life, and also about worries. To there are things that worry me that probably you don't care about, not because you're you don't care about anything, but because you don't care about what I care in my surroundings. So look around, look for what you care about. Also look for your own possibilities, what's your knowledge, what you like to do, and also what would you like to develop, what would you like to learn, and get a mix. So mix is like doing this diagram of this is what I know and this is what I would like to learn, and look for the mixture. Look where the two diagrams mix to find your sweet spot. That's one thing. And another thing is, when you work for a nonprofit, you always get a reward. Probably it's not going to be the reward that you expected in the beginning, but it doesn't have to be that reward. Um, but you always get something in return. And in any case, don't have your expectations too high. That's another thing. When you expect a lot, then probably you're not going to get what you were expecting to get in return. So for instance, in my case in Toastmasters, well, like I said in the beginning of the interview, right, I was expecting to lose my fear of public speaking. And of course, I found that I am not scared of public speaking any longer, but I found a lot else. And in the case of TEDx, more or less the same. I was expecting to organize a big event, and what I encountered was a huge community of doers and thinkers and world changers that I'm so glad to belong to. So yeah, uh, don't expect too much. Look what you want to do in life. How would you like the world to be? And I'm sure there's a nonprofit for you out there.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Christina, for sharing your experience with us. So, if our listeners would like to contact you, where can they find you in the internet?
I'm Cristina Juesas all around. If you type my name on Google, I'm the first one appearing. So that's easy. I have a website. The website is basically, it's mainly in Spanish, I believe. But I have a Twitter account and a LinkedIn, um, Instagram. I'm even on Clubhouse. Just type my name and I'm around. I'm easy to find.
Perfect, perfect. I will post all the links under our episode in the show notes so that our listeners can contact you. Thank you very much, Christina, for our conversation today.
Thank you, Elena.
Thank you for listening to Ideas and Leaders podcast. Did you enjoy this episode? Let me know that you listened by tagging me in your LinkedIn profile and using a hashtag Ideas and Leaders. See you in the next episode.